Today we're actually going to be talking about the All the Smoke podcast and the interview that they had with Kamala Harris. Overall, before I get into just overall the specifics of this interview, um, it was a waste of time because I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, what are we, what are we talking about? Because the interview was about 45 minutes long. Interview was about 45 minutes long, and they didn't actually start talking about politics until about 21 minutes in. I said, "What? We're talking about? Oh, well, I met my husband. I mean, it was a blind date. I don't care. Oh, well, I got a friend, and I mean, we're still friends. I don't care, girl. Let's talk. You've been in office, VP, for about 3.5 years. You've been a prosecutor and doing all this other stuff in California and all this other stuff for years. Okay, we got plenty of video. Why do you think now we want to know more about you and your personal life? Oh, well, she's a VP. You should have told us that 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, 7 months ago. I don't care. What are you going to do? Okay, now let's just get into it. So, it starts off, she was over here talking about how she has a great relationship with her husband's children, their mother. Okay, with the children and their mother. She was like, "Oh yeah, we co-parent, and I mean, it's great. We don't have any kind of jealousy, nothing like that. It's just a perfect scenario." Okay, all right. Then one of the guys, one of the interviewers, he asks, "Okay, can you explain how a bill becomes a law?" Then she goes and says that. And then she goes and says she wants the people to have the power. She wants people to stand up. She wants them to have some power. Why is it that you're trying to push for more censorship because of misinformation or disinformation? I guess I'm confused. How are you saying I want people's voices to be heard? I want them to have the power, but then in the same breath you say, "Yeah, but we gotta have censorship because y'all can't just be talking crazy." Okay. Then she was saying how her parents were marching the streets or something like that for civil rights, which I don't believe that even happened. Then she said there's nothing significant that has passed without the people. You need people to be marching in the streets in order for things to happen. So I guess I'm curious. Will I need to get out in the streets if you become president? I think she will. When you become president, do I need to now get in the streets for you to pass something? Because you said nothing ever passes until people get in the streets. So do I now have to get in the streets? Are you telling me that you ain't gonna do anything? That's how I interpret that. And it was just, okay, let me just ask a question. And all the questions they asked, it was nothing. I said, what? I'm like, we're not gonna ask any real questions. We're gonna get into it, y'all. But oh God, we're gonna get into it. It was a mess. Okay. Then she ended up bringing up Project 2025, even though he said he's not connected to it. Then people say, "Oh, well, his name's mentioned in it 300 times," but then he said, "I'm not connected to it." So I don't know. Okay. But she went and brought that up. I'm so tired of hearing of that. Okay. Because I look at it like this. Well, why didn't it happen before? It's not like he wasn't president. But then people are like, "Oh, well, it's because they were still playing." All right, y'all. Whatever. So now we're halfway through the interview, and no policies or real acts of change have been brought up at all. Okay. And I just want I'm looking at my notes. Uh, I don't know these two dudes. It's my first time ever watching this podcast, anything. The one dude had this crazy looking suit on, and I just was looking like, why did you decide to wear that? Okay, but whatever. Okay. But then, I started thinking about it as I was watching it. I put on pause and I was like, okay, what states were actually affected by Hurricane Helene? Okay. And it's Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, and Tennessee. So far, from what I've seen, the last number I saw was 125 deaths. Okay. You have entire towns that have been wiped out, a lot of damage. And I'm just wondering, well, when did this happen? When did this interview actually take place? Now, if it happened 3 weeks ago and they just not put up, that's different. I didn't know what the timeline was for it because I'm wondering, why are you here? Well, she's not the president, but you're running to be president, so shouldn't you not be doing this? Shouldn't you say, okay, we got to postpone this because I got some No? Okay. Especially when I find out that you got a dude who has a helicopter. He's going out here trying to save people, trying to rescue people. And then he's told by the fire chief in command, whatever, not to do it. So I guess why were you not there to be like, we're going to override? Or, okay, oh, Kamala's here. We're going to get some stuff done. So I don't know when this took place. I don't know if this was something that they, maybe it recorded the day of Helene, or maybe it recorded 2 weeks or a week before. I don't know. Okay. And we're just now getting it. But I'm like, I don't think you should even be here. And then something else I was also thinking about was how Biden just approved another $2.4 million for Ukraine aid. And then he says, well, we already pre-approved some money for the hurricane victims of Helene, was it? Oh, yeah, we already pre-approved. Y'all ain't getting no more money from us. No more money from you? Huh. Okay. And I get you're the VP, but you don't think that you need to... Now, like I said, I don't know when this was made. I don't know if we just got this and this was recorded the day prior or 2 days prior or whatever. But I find that to be interesting. But let's get back into the interview. So then the topic of men's mental health, or males' mental health, was brought up, okay, for the kids and the adults. And, she starts talking about it, and then she was saying, oh, what I do is I work out every morning. I make sure I'm good, and yada, yada, yada. But they're saying, like, we have black men in the community who's trying to make a positive impact to the younger black boys in the community. So we're talking about mental health. And then she starts talking about her own personal life that really had nothing to do with what they were just talking. She just completely just blew past the question. I said, okay, right. So then the topic of what is the economic plan for the average American who is living paycheck to paycheck? What's going to happen?
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So look, I grew up, so my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was, by all of our accounts and feelings, our second mother. She helped raise us. And so she was a small business owner. So I'll start with the small business, and congratulations on what you guys have done. I, from a child, knew who our small business owners are, right? I mean, you're business leaders, but you're also civic leaders. You take seriously your voice and how you can mentor, how you can grow, right? Communities and the sense of communities. I love our small businesses. And so a lot of my work in terms of building and growing the economy has focused on small businesses. And my vision overall is we need to build an opportunity economy in which we increase opportunity for all, including small business owners.
What is your plan? What are you going to do? Right? So I'm like, oh, okay, so now we're getting a little bit into, a little something what we can do. So she mentions how she grew up middle class, and it was her and her sister, her mother, living in one apartment. It was owned by a lady who lived down the street. Had nothing to do with Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Had nothing to do with gas prices, food prices, rent controls, lowering the mortgages, lowering the interest rates, giving us some tax breaks, not having Medicare for all, healthcare not tied to your employer, $25 minimum wage, a UBI. Had nothing. You notice I just mentioned everything off the top of my head right now. No editing. So, you are the VP trying to be the president, and you tell me a story about how you were a middle-class woman or whatever, and your mama, she went and made some greens and some chitlins, but then you can't actually talk about real policy. We're already past the halfway point at this point. So then she starts talking about, so then here's some policy. Then she says, small businesses, they're going to get a tax deduction, okay? Tax break, tax deduction of $50,000. Currently it's at $5,000. You can't do anything with that. $50,000 tax break. You said new businesses and just small businesses in general. We're going to have more small businesses. If I'm not mistaken, you got to have a business, which means you got to have money, dinero. Okay, so you got to already have money in order to have the business, in order to then get the deduction slash break later on. So where you going to get the money from if we ain't got no money? Yeah. Then she said, we're going to increase home ownership, $25,000 to the first time buy. What about the, and this is what I always notice. They take care of the upper class. They quote unquote take care of the lower class. But the middle class, they want to make it like Brazil where you're the rich or you're poor. There's nothing else. The middle class gets nothing. So let's say you already have a home. Can you get a tax break? Oh, no. Okay, $25,000 for the first time home buyer. Well, where are they getting money from if they don't have any money? All right. So, and then she never brought up student loans. So she actually mentioned, she said, you don't have to take out a student loan. You could actually take out equity out of your house because you're getting more money. Da, da, da. But you're not mentioning getting rid of student debt. You're not mentioning any of that. You're saying, I'm going to still have y'all pay student loans. Okay. Oh, y'all going to still pay student loans. But instead of actually taking out a loan, like a federal grant or a federal loan or, a private loan, you could go and get equity out of your mama's house. We could just... Don't you think you should be saying something about some student loan? Wait, wasn't Biden say he got... And then she was saying a $6,000 child tax credit. Oh, yeah, they need that, y'all. And then that was it. I'm like, okay. Then she goes and says, people should not be in jail for smoking weed, because this is when the topic then went to this. Then she said, people should not be in jail for smoking weed.
Going to jail for smoking weed. And we know historically what that has meant and who has gone to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I just think we have come to a point where we have to understand that we need to legalize it and stop criminalizing this behavior. And so, and I've actually, this is not a new position for me. I have felt for a long time we need to legalize it. So that's where I am on that. I just feel strongly people should not.
Now, I guess my question is, get people prosecuted for cannabis use? You see how my nose got bigger like that? Didn't you also admit on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy? Didn't you also admit to smoking the marijuanas and listening to Snoop Dogg and Tupac, even though they didn't make any music at that current time? So either you were lying about both of those, which that says a lot about your character, or if you were smoking weed, shouldn't you say, you know what? I'm so happy that, if these idiots were to have brought it up because they didn't bring anything up. I mean, this was nothing. Shouldn't they have said, well, I'm happy that someone like you didn't prosecute you or find out that you were smoking, otherwise you would be in jail. Wouldn't you say that you're happy, you're lucky that you weren't one of the ones that were picked? Because technically you're breaking the law. I mean, wouldn't you bring up the whole Breakfast Club thing of her admitting to being a criminal at that point? Because that was an admission of guilt if this was true. But this just goes to show, I mean, she'd be lying all the time. So I don't even know if I don't even know if she even knew who these people were. I mean, because obviously she went and said that she was listening to the music, but they didn't even make music at that time. But, so I just was like, it doesn't make any sense. So, and then I was going through the comments after I was watching it, even during it, because I was like, this is boring. And a lot of comments apparently were deleted. People were saying that comments are deleted, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and a lot of people were just like, this is nothing. Like, y'all really didn't even, I mean, this is nothing. I could have just not been watching this, okay? But something I wanted to look at, and this is what I actually put into ChatGPT, because I was a little curious. I was like, I don't know the number. People keep saying it, but let me just see. So actually, I'm going to put up on the screen. So I actually asked on the right, it says, when Vice President Kamala Harris was a prosecutor in California, did she lock people up for charges related to cannabis use? Because she said people should not be going to prison or jail for cannabis. And ChatGPT said yes. During her time as prosecutor in California, Kamala Harris's office did pursue charges related to cannabis use and possession while serving as a district attorney of San Francisco and later as the attorney general of California. Her office implemented policies that led to prosecutions for various drug offenses, including marijuana. However, her stance on cannabis has evolved over the years, and she has publicly supported legalization and reforming drug policies. But also, she kept people in prison longer than their assigned term they can be used for free labor. I did ask ChatGPT, I was like, okay, could you explain how many people were actually affected? I mean, how many? Because you just said that she locks of people up, pursue charges, but how many? And it says during Kamala Harris's tenure as district attorney of San Francisco and attorney general of California, thousands of people were prosecuted for cannabis related offenses. Though exact numbers can vary. In California, many arrests and incarceration for marijuana possession occurred before legalization in 2016. However, specific figures detailing the number of people in prison solely for cannabis use can be difficult to pinpoint, as they are often part of a border drug related charges. After legalization, Harris has expressed support. Okay, reforming. So I went and asked, I said, I know you said there's a few, but you said thousands. I think there's more than a few. I was like, okay, can you narrow it down? I mean, can I get some numbers? Okay. So it says estimates suggest that during Kamala Harris's time in office, tens of thousands of people were arrested for cannabis-related offenses in California. That's a lot more than 2,000. Particularly before the legalization of recreational use in 2016. For example, in 2010, a report indicated that about 60,000 arrests for marijuana possession occurred annually in California. But nobody should be arrested for it. So now it makes me wonder, are you genuinely saying this? Or are you just saying this because people like to smoke? Okay. Or vape, or, do the gummies, whatever. Okay. Brownies, whatever. Are you legitimately saying this? Or are you saying it only because you're just trying to win some votes? Okay. Because your history is showing otherwise. Anyone could say, oh, well, I don't believe it anymore. Is that true? I don't know. But let's continue. While not all of these resulted in imprisonment, many led to significant legal repercussions. The exact number of individuals who were in prison specifically for cannabis charges during the tenure is not clearly documented, but it contributed to a broader pattern of drug-related incarcerations in the state. That's quite interesting. Now let's go and look at some of these comments up in here. Okay. So at this time I got 166,000 views. So some of the comments I'm gonna go ahead and read. It says, in this passage of time, I'm burdened by what has been unburdened with the holistic economic plan since I grew up in a middle class family. This is actually quite impressive. 5 interviews without answering a single question. I blew out my ACL running to the comment. And I'm going to be real. When I was looking at the comments, most of them were negative. So I'm like, it's not like people who just saying stuff just to be mean. No, it's like people are legitimately like, what are we even doing here? Just came to add that I also grew up in middle class houses raised neck to neck, y'all. Y'all better thank a YouTube member. Comments better than the interview. I was burdened by this interview. All right. And then we got a little bit more here. I didn't know. I guess these dudes are like basketball players or former basketball players. This suit is horrendous, y'all. Okay. I don't know what he was thinking with this. Is that a jacket? I thought this was a full-on suit. Is that a jacket? Oh, it's a jacket. Y'all, just because you put a label, a brand on you, that don't make it stylish. Okay. Doesn't make it stylish just because, ooh, Louis Vuitton, y'all, you look like a walking chessboard. Okay, this is not, but hey, whatever you do is your stuff. I don't care. No on Kamala. Y'all talking about some BS. This clip got to be bait for people to watch the episode. Anything on the people she locked up, or are we all just prisoners at the moment? Anything on jailing black men for weed? No. Yeah, you helped destroy the city And then people said they're going to vote for Trump. Who else voting for Trump? Wonder how much they sold out for. Bro, I'm done with these, what's the word? Ninjas. Y'all bring her on here talking about sports team and ish. Bro, question her policies, her plans. Y'all just clout chasing. Ask her about the port that's about to go on strike, which is already on strike. That her and Biden didn't do ish about, and that will immediately affect our economy on October 1st, since Shannon took over the airwaves. And that's also the thing. You got a lot of people who they're just simply not talking about anything. You got this interview, we're not talking about anything. Y'all, if y'all watched it, let me know what y'all think, but I didn't like it. But y'all could do you. Let me know what you think. Hello, hello, hello. I would greatly appreciate it if you can actually support my little small business called Latrice Limited. It is on latricelimited.com. So as you can see right here, I actually sell candles and a wide variety of other items as well. This is my big forehead, okay? But I actually want to show you just a couple of different items that I do sell. This is actually going to be a part of my soap collection that I have. As you can see, I have a variety of different soaps on here. I actually have 2 pages worth of soaps, and everything is handmade, okay, natural, clean ingredients as well. You can also see right here, these are my candles. All right, they're all handmade, everything vanilla, sweet roses, sage and vanilla and sweet roses are actually my favorite scents that I do have. I also have a few other items on here. I'm actually going to go and show you all the bath bombs that I do have. As you all can see, there's eucalyptus and sage, sweet pea harmony, and so many more. And then we're just going to finish off on the gift sets that I have. There's a variety of them, from like the big ones like this for $45, and then you have some of the smaller ones, and you have these itty bitty ones down here that includes essential oil blends. Definitely shop with your girl. Definitely help your girl out. I would greatly appreciate it. This is like my little baby over here, okay? I would greatly appreciate it, and enjoy.